Well, welcome to Papa Bear Peppers, and I'm Harold. Today, I want to bring back a video that I created back in 2015, and it was called the Bloom Chaos Effect. And the reason I'm bringing this back so you could actually see the results of what I was doing at that time, and I'm going to add a few updates to what I'm doing with that regimen now, which is, here is what I'm referring. Here's my little mini travel ball. This is the one I used to go back and forth to put into my sprayer. And this is what I'm talking about, the Bloom Chaos. This is a foliar spray, but it can also be used for root soap to help increase the growth and the uptake of the plants. Now, the one thing that you'll see me mention in this video that I want to bring to your attention is that when you do use Bloom Chaos, you have to remember that it's going to massively increase the calcium uptake of your plants. By doing that, it's going to massively increase the amount of flowering that happens with your pepper plants. And you're going to at least be doubling what you would normally have in production. It really is that good, folks. Now, this is something that I used with it. It's called Herculean Harvest, and it is a liquid bone meal. Basically, what it's going to allow for the plants to uptake this bone meal, this calcium, rapidly, instead of it being a slow release like you would get. And the reason that being is because this is a phosphate type bone meal that allows the plants to uptake it directly. So, this is what I have been using the last year, 2 years actually, since I created the video, is the Herculean Harvest. I'm about to buy another bottle of that real soon, just so I make sure I keep enough on hand. But again, this Bloom Chaos, you use the instructions in the back, and it's really 1/4 teaspoon per 16 ounces of distilled water, or I use rainwater. So, it doesn't take a whole lot for that, and it's very effective, folks. Let me tell you what. I use those in my super teas, and along with that I use the Aphrodite's Extraction Carbon. And that's just one more thing that I like to add in there. It gives me just a little bit more of my phosphate for an uptake and my calcium for uptake when I'm feeding my plants. Another thing that I use, and I'll be making a super tea soon, is I use my SoilSoup nutrient solution. And that's what you're doing when you're using organics such as Nectar for the Gods, is that you're increasing the microbial activity in your soil, and by doing that your plants are going to thrive. By using the Bloom Chaos, you're feeding them at the nodes, and they're going to actually start producing flowers. And you'll see in the video what exactly I'm talking about, and the just incredible amount of flowering that you'll get by using this Bloom Chaos in a foliar spray, as well as using it in your super teas. And that'll be in another episode, and I will go over what I do to build my super teas. So without further ado, let's go ahead and go to the video and look at these plants and see what the effect of Bloom Chaos has had on them. I've heard some people talk about not having production, or their plants are not flowering up. Well, okay, so I do a spray with this. I use calcium, usually a cow mag or my calcium syrup with this, and the proper doses. And actually, I push it up a little bit when I'm using my Bloom Chaos, just because of the calcium uptake. And like this one here, you see all those flowers, man. That's like, look at all those. That's ridiculous flowers on this thing, all over it, and it's also all podded up too. Look at that, there's pods everywhere, and it's still just pounding out flowers. And this has been getting foliar sprayed. I spray it about every 2 weeks with a dose of my Bloom Chaos from Nectar for the Gods. And then also with the CalMag or the calcium syrup. Been using the calcium syrup lately to really up the dose. This one here I'm bringing you over to show you. I want to show you, this is a reaper plant. You know, and I've heard people say, I'm not getting much production out of my reaper. Look at the flowers all over that thing. This thing is covered in flowers, all right? And look at this, pod production all in there. Look at that. Look at all those pods too. On top of all the flowers you see, it's pods. Man, you know what? It ain't no secret. I've been advertising this for a while, over the last 2 years since I started using Nectar for the Gods. And yes, I do use my teas, but when it comes to really pumping out the production and everything, look at this. This is another one. This is a Apocalypse Scorpion covered in flowers. Look at that, and potted up. I have no problem with flower production on my plants right now. Here's this one. You guys have seen this before. This is my gourmet jigsaw. It's still, look at that, it's still getting flowers because I just sprayed, but I mean, I still spray it. And now look at that, all those flowers, but all of those pods too. Just a crazy, ridiculous amount of pods all over this thing. All right, this one is my Nagla Beast. I started spraying it here recently because it's big enough to where I got to push. And look at that, you see the flowering started up. You see the little buds coming up for the flowers. There's flowers in here. Look at that, flowered up. Even this little one, because I'm pushing it because it's getting close to the end of the season. Look at that, it's going to be podding up. This over here, my Kraken Scorpion. I started spraying it, blowing, there are little buds everywhere, and in fact, I remember right, yeah, you see that one already flowered and it's starting to produce a pod right now. That's the thing, it's flowering up and they're sticking. There's one right in there that's sticking, you know. Look at this thing, it's super chilly. It's got so many, and it's still pumping. It's still putting out flowers, but it's got so many pods on it that it's laid down. It's laid over. It's just too heavy with pods to even sustain anymore. So it flopped over, and it's just still loaded up. Even my giant red Ricotta, I spray it. You can see there's pods everywhere on this thing, and it's still flowering up. You know, all over it. So, and these get sprayed too, and it's loaded up. This is my cayenne. It's got cayenne peppers all over it. My Thai dragon. There's still flowers on it, but it's all loaded up with little Thai chilies. I mean, I don't know what more to say. You know, people, I hear them say, "Oh, you use this, use that." Do it. Use whatever you want. I'm just telling you. Look at that, flowers still on this one. This is back to my gourmet jigsaw. All of those pods on here, and it's still pumping out flowers because it's going to put out more. Because the calcium uptake, when you use the Bloom Khaos, it more than doubles the uptake of your calcium. Of your calcium that your plant can uptake. Well, when that happens, when you increase the uptake of the calcium and the other nutrients that your plant's taking, what you end up doing is getting just this mass amount of flowering and the bloomage, and that's what you're looking for, you know. And I tell you what, if you want to increase, if you guys are having trouble with your plants flowering up, I'm telling you, this is a foliar spray. I use this sprayer right here. Yeah, see, I got it in there. That's mixed with the calcium syrup right now. And I just got done feeding these boogers. I just got done feeding these things, and they're loving it, man. I don't know what more, how else to put it. You know, yeah, there's lots of natural things you can do, but this is natural. One thing you need to know is that Nectar for the Gods is an organic company. They make their stuff organic. That's why I can use it. Here's Ron Elkins, my, well, these two here are from Jim Duffy. These are my Naga Morches, but then down here, look at all the flowers. I'm sure you can see them in there. And this one's already, these are the my Ron Elkins ghost peppers. They're podding up already. They're flowering up like crazy. It's hard to see in there, but you know, in here, if you look inside, look at all the flowers coming in. Yeah, they're all flowered up. There's a little pod coming in. My first pods on my Ron Elkins strain. I call it, it's a ghost pepper, but it comes from Ron Elkins, who is probably the purest ghost pepper grower around. So, but yeah, you know, and so that's what I tell you. You know what, I keep preaching it. I'm preaching it and preaching it, but you know, Scott Ostrander, he's the developer of this, and I'll tell you, it's pretty much the flagship of their product line, and it's an amazing thing you're going to find out. Is it pricey? Yeah, it's a little pricey, but you know, a quart is like, you can get it for about $20 a quart. And I'll tell you what, you know, your production levels, you know, even look at this one. This is my Trinidad Scorpion, all potted up, flowered up. You know, got a lot of pods all over it, and it's potted up. And this one over here, I started spraying it now because it was big enough, and getting some gnarly pods. And it's starting to really pick up on the flowering now. Look at that. All of those flowers are coming on. And the thing about it is they're going to stick. They always do. I've not had a problem with them not sticking. But, you know, couple that with the nutrients that I'm giving them, my worm compost tea. But this is what I get. This is what I use to push out the flowering, to push out pod production. I would say that I double my production by using it. So you be the judge of that. I'm probably going to have a record year for these plants, you know, individual plants and how they're producing. So, I mean, I'm just trying to get the word out there. If you guys want to know a way to increase your yields, your production, if you're good with what you have right now, stick with it. If you're having troubles with what you're doing right now, that's my solution to you, and it works. That's all I'm going to say is it works. If there's one thing you buy from Nectar for the Gods, buy that Bloom Khaos and see what happens to your production and your yield and how your plant's taking it. As you can see by the video, I have a lot of flowers on those pepper plants, and I had a lot of pods. You will too, and I'm telling you, this isn't something like I said. I'm just like you folks out there. There's nothing that's given to me, but I do go out and I find what I believe to be the very best that I can get for my plants, so that I get the biggest, the best, and the strongest plants that I can, because then they're going to produce for me. And that's what we all want, is some really high producing pepper plants out there that'll really push the grow, as you've heard me say before. And that's what we're looking to do, is really get these things producing for us. And if you can double the production of your plants, folks, it's amazing. I'm telling you, you're really going to load your plants up. So this is Harold with Papa Bear Peppers. Y'all have a great day and keep growing.